I think that it's important to be able to do whatever is needed to get the job done. That's how I do it, and that's what I always ask of my team. This is our goal, and that's what we need to get to.
Welcome to another episode of Higher Learning. I'm your host, Oz Rashid. This isn't just a podcast. It's a front row seat to how elite leaders build iconic teams. The kind of leaders who spot potential others may overlook, who build cultures people don't want to leave, and who set the bar and then raise it. Work and how we work is evolving at a rapid pace like no time in our history, and our guests will give you the insights on how to stay out in front when it comes to leadership, management, AI, and developing the skills that actually matter. Whether you're a founder, hiring manager, candidate, or just obsessed with building teams the right way, this is your spot. If it's your first time here, welcome. Hit the subscribe button, drop a rating, tell a friend who gets it. To our longtime listeners, appreciate you. Now, let's get into today's guest. I am very excited to have my friend Estefania Diaz-Balart. She is a communications turned business development pro. She launched her career with high-profile roles with Inter Miami FC, Univision's Televisa, before shifting into business development with Hard Rock in South Florida. Today, she's going to help join us and unpack why the career and her pivot happened and tell us a little bit about career transformation in action. But that's not it. She's also a wellness and mindset champion, a devoted fan of intermittent fasting, mental health rituals, and spiritual well-being. She's going to share everything with us about her discipline amid travel, parenting demands, and the additional practices she uses to stay centered. Not only that, she's also a big philanthropist. So, Estefania, I'm so excited to have you here. When was the last time you had a morsel of food?
That's a good one. No, you know what? I actually had lunch today.
Okay,
I
you
had
had lunch.
an early lunch.
I thought that you were going to be, because we've talked a lot about the components of mental clarity, and I thought going into the pod, maybe you would have done a 12-hour fast, but yeah.
That's why I love that question, because I love, as you know, every time we see each other, we talk about it, but I love intermittent fasting. It has worked for me in ways that I wouldn't have imagined before I started. I kind of just started it as let's do this for fun. Let's try something new. I had heard about it. So I started to, in fact, listen to podcasts about it to learn more and hear about people's experiences. And so I started to do it, and I saw the change almost immediately. It did take like 2 weeks for me to really start to notice a difference. And it wasn't really just physical, but it was also mental. Like I started to feel more clarity, more focused. It was really something that I was not expecting. Actually, I started doing it for fun, to see like how my body would react, and it ended up being, I would say, one of the coolest things I've done, this year. And I typically fast between 14 hours to 18 hours. 16, I would say, is my normal. But today, to answer your question, I went to my mom's house to drop off the kids, and she had lunch prepared, so I couldn't say no. So I fasted this time. I fasted 14 hours, which was a short time, but I feel very good about it.
Yeah, I love that about you. I love that you're an evangelist for this. I love that you found something that's helped you from a professional perspective, but also a mental well-being perspective and a physical perspective. And so it's something that I've done intermittently, no pun intended. Like I am not really good at doing it like day after day after day, but many times I will stop my eating around 8 p.m. and then go usually till noon. And I wasn't much of a big breakfast eater anyway. And I agree with you. When I do that on a consistent basis, there is some clarity. There is a lot of different things that I can tell from a fasting perspective that really change your body. And I was watching something the other night on videos around what happens 12 hours and not eating, 16 hours and not eating, 18 hours and not eating. And it's just amazing how your body, right, what it does, how this amazing mechanism works in terms of kind of bringing you to a different place. So I want to get to that in a minute, because we've already kind of buried the lead, but I want to talk first and start here, because you and I have talked a lot about, in the past, we've done other interviews together, career transformation. You worked at like some of the more high profile, opportunities here in South Florida, Inter Miami. Obviously, everyone's familiar with Lionel Messi. You've worked with one of the biggest media brands in Televisa, Univision. And then you moved over to Hard Rock. And in between that time, you spent a lot of time in events and communications before eventually moving into business development or Hard Rock. And I'm just interested to know a little bit about that jump for you, right? How did you get into communications in the first place? And then why make the jump into business development and sales?
So it's interesting because what I kind of like always have felt like I've been really lucky in my professional career. Like incredible opportunities have always presented themselves. Um, I just feel like I've always had like a little star in my professional career that's been like not something that I could have planned. It's for sure like God driven or the universe. But and with that, it's put me in front of like really cool brands, really cool projects, really cool opportunities. And this last one, which was a Hard Rock, was as vice president of Latin business development. That was my last role, and it was incredible. It was really a dream job, and I kind of like came across it unexpectedly. So to your point, I was at Televisa Univision. I had always in my whole career had been sports entertainment, mainly sports. And I was at Univision. I was leading the communications for the sports division. So which was pretty cool because it was communications for the linear and VIX as well. So like just like a very wide range of projects. And so what happened was that I was looking to grow. I wanted like that VP role. You know, in my mind, I always wanted to kind of like climb the ladder. I wanted to be a VP so bad. I just knew that I was a senior director at Univision. So I really, that was my dream. And I wanted to be challenged. Like I love challenges, hence the intermittent fasting, because I'm like, I love to be challenged. And so this was like a whole new different thing. Like I had done entertainment. Hard Rock was very involved also in sports because we sponsor the stadium. So Hard Rock Stadium is sponsored by the Hard Rock. And the Hard Rock does a lot with F1. In any event, I felt like it really had the company did a lot of what I already knew, like sports, entertainment. It was a strong brand in South Florida, and it was looking for somebody to start their Latin division. And I saw their role randomly on LinkedIn. I really wasn't even looking. Like, you're always sort of looking, but I wasn't like applying. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. They're looking for business development, Latin market, here in South Florida. That's kind of interesting, and it's a cool brand. So I reached out to the person that had posted it, and they were like interested, but they also, here's what did it for me. Somebody else sent it to me via direct message on LinkedIn. They said, hey, I saw this randomly on LinkedIn and I thought of you. So then I was like, okay, this is interesting because it kind of caught my attention. And then this person is sending it to me, this person that I respect. So I'm going to take it seriously. So I followed up with the person, and one thing led to another, and I got an interview. And then I got an interview with my firm, like what ended up being my boss. And in that interview, it was so interesting because I was scared because it's a VP role and it's like a bigger thing. And I just really prayed. I said, if walking away from this interview, what I want is to walk away with the knowing, see how I feel of whether this is for me or not. And what's interesting is that after the interview, I was like, oh, this is going to be very difficult because I have two little boys and this is going to be an insanely demanding role. So I was hesitant. In my heart, I kind of wanted to try it, but I was also very hesitant. And so I said no. I turned the role down, and my former boss, who ended up being my boss, he didn't let me say no. He invited me back to the Hard Rock. He said, just meet people, see how you feel. I stayed over the property. I attended a concert, and he really did not let me say no. And he was an incredible boss because he like saw something in me that I almost couldn't see in myself. And I, to this day, I'm so grateful for him and for the opportunity. And he took a chance on me and I really excelled. And I think to your question regarding going from comms to business development, I think what he saw in me was that I wasn't just a comms person. Like I didn't just do communications, or I didn't just do digital marketing, or I didn't just do philanthropy. I kind of had done a lot. And so he wanted that because it was a division that was going to be built for the Hard Rock. And he saw that I was going to be able to handle different like verticals and grow different areas under the umbrella of Latin, especially given my relationships in the market. I think that would be like the biggest thing that I had was I have very strong relationships. So with that, I believed in him, like he believed in me and I believed in him, so that allowed me to make the jump from communications and PR into business development which was an incredible experience. I mean, I'm so lucky to have been able to do it. And now I'm still with them, as you know, consulting. So I recently left a few months ago, mainly because as a mom, it is tough to be working in entertainment and have two little boys that are so little. Mine are 5 and 7. So I needed like a little bit of a sabbatical, I'm calling it, where from a full-time role. So I'm still consulting from the Hard Rock, but I'm able to be a little bit more with the boys now in the summer specifically.
Okay, and I definitely want to talk about that. But I mean, I'm going to give credit number one to both the manager for seeing that potential in you, and the credit to you. I mean, a lot of people are listening to this, and potentially some of them might be in transition, some of them might be thinking about making a jump. And I think hearing your story and hearing how well it worked out for you might give people a little bit of confidence in terms of maybe making one of those career moves. And I just, listen, events, communication, business development, there's some natural synergies there. I think it's really important to understand the overlap, right, in those two areas, right, and knowing where you can come in and be successful right away, and what are maybe the areas that you have to continue to learn. I'm interested to know, like, what was your most proudest accomplishment in that role?
Oh, so many things. I think I would say if I had to name one, was this one weekend that we chose where I hosted a Latin immersion program for the Hard Rock executives. So it was about 20 executives. So we're talking about literally C-level executives, like the top from Hard Rock International. They came down to Miami, and from Friday to Sunday, from like Friday at 5 p.m. to Sunday at around noon, I just gave them a full immersion into the Latin side of Miami. I'm very proud of that weekend because we really were able to show the Hard Rock the importance of getting involved and connected and give back to the Latin community, like really understanding the culture. And not just that, but I also was very proud to show off Miami. And the Latin, I'm Latin. I came here when I was 12 years old to Miami from Venezuela. I didn't speak English. So that, I think I take a lot of pride in representing the Latin culture to a brand like Hard Rock that's so incredible and that's so amazing and that has so many resources. So I think that weekend was really special. And because I also brought in a lot of the influencers and influential people in the community to talk to the Hard Rock executives. So I definitely enjoyed that. I was just talking about that weekend yesterday to a friend. And one of the projects that we did, which also kind of took place that weekend, in fact, was Michelle Bernstein, who is a beloved and really just incredible chef. She has Cafe La Trova, Señora Martinez, Las Cañitas. Here in Miami, those are her restaurants. I brought her to the Hard Rock and we did a pop-up at the Guitar Hotel at Aviaca. She basically took it over. And then we also did a pop-up with the Cañitas brand in Tampa, in the hotel in Tampa. So, I really just integrating the Latin culture into the Hard Rock has just been like very prideful for me. Like I love that I've been able to do it.
What a huge win. And listen, Miami is an incredible city. It's amazing that we've had so many people migrate here over the last 3 to 4 years, and I feel like it's only continuing to go. I think there's a lot more people coming up from the north, and whether it be whatever their reasoning may be, there's a lot of opportunity on here. And to your point, the culture is infused with Latin food. And I've told this before, but it's interesting. I grew up in Southern California and Arizona, and so honestly, my foray into Latin culture, Hispanic culture, was primarily Mexican. Right? I love Mexican food. I grew up around a lot of Mexican friends, had a lot of Mexican people in my life, and I was very familiar with that culture. And I moved here, and actually, I understood that there was all these different countries in Latin America. What I probably didn't do, though, is give enough, respect to the idea that all of these countries, Venezuela, Chile, Colombia, Uruguay, like that, Peru, are so very different and have so much different cultural nuance. And I think sometimes, like, when we look at Europe, we're like, oh, Italians are very different than Germans, than French people. And then a lot of times, you see that it's more, it's seen as more homogenous, sometimes Latin America. And coming here and getting exposure to all of these different cultures and learning so much about, one of my best friends was Venezuelan, and I got to have a Venezuelan Christmas and learn about Venezuelan traditions and all the different things in the country. And then, I obviously, had a lot of Colombian friends and Chilean friends. So getting to learn and expose to that culture, it's one of the beauties of Miami. And it's not just Latin and Hispanic culture out here. This is probably the most international, American city that we have. It's a hub for everybody coming from Europe, from, EMEA, from the Latin America. And there's just so much to offer in this city. And it's so great to have somebody like you be an ambassador of it and show, I need to go and have a Latin inspired weekend by Estefania. Are you open to that? Can you do this?
No, listen, let me tell you something. You're going to have the time of your life because I think to your point, one of the things was showing specifically that how you can go to different restaurants and get the different cultures through their specific foods. And even just understanding, I think, to your point earlier about all of the different nationalities, being able to really market to the right audience through the right medium in the right way that's authentic and culturally relevant so that you're not offending people that, you know what I mean? Like, I think that companies that can get that right really deserve so much respect and I think stand out, right? Like, and that's one thing that like I really admire, in fact, about the Hard Rock was that that's why the executives wanted to come and understand it because they didn't just want to just have okay Latin marketing, one size fits all. No, for Hispanic Heritage Month each year, our campaigns were incredible because we really took the time to, one of the things that we did that I loved, for example, was we curated a social media campaign where first of all, the overall campaign was called Mi Gente. So we were celebrating the people. And then we were able to curate employees. I wanted to highlight employees that were Latin from different cultures that would talk about, their culture and how it's represented through the Hard Rock and whatnot. But the point was that we specifically spoke to Cubans, Argentines, Mexicans, and Venezuelan. And we kind of showed the fact that they were all diverse and that the Hard Rock sort of like was bringing us all together. And it was just beautiful. And it was beautiful how, I mean, obviously I did it, but like, it was beautiful how we really took the time to give it the respect it deserves and the attention and the love. And especially down here in South Florida, where to your point, it's really a melting pot and the mecca in the US of the cultural, coming together.
Totally agree. So now that you're only consulting for Hard Rock and just taking care of two young boys, I'm sure your schedule is really lined up and you're getting to relax all the time. Or is that what it's like at home now? I know it's not.
It's funny because it's different. I mean, being a mom, it like requires a different part of your brain, Yeah. So and to go back to the fasting, one of the things I've noticed with fasting is that it's allowed me to be more calm, because before I was in the hustle of work and I mean, I was just go, go, go. And anybody can tell you they were just exhausted just watching my stories on Instagram because I share a lot. But now that I'm a mom, I'm go, 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 but it's a different pace. And it's more of a pace of like, how can I really be present for my children? Can we, I don't really cook great, but like, can we make a cake or can we make a smoothie that they like? And can we go and ride bikes? However I can be present for them, but I'm always on the go. And I really have taken seriously like this break that I'm taking to be present for them where I want to do it well. I want to take advantage of the fact that I do have this time where I'm not on the phone when I'm with them. Like that's really important for me. It's like I want to be present for them and at the same time, I am consulting and I want to make sure that the time I'm doing that I'm fully focused. So it's now just a different rhythm and I think I'm trying to be more what's the word I'm looking for? Just more deliberate about how I'm using my time. I'm also trying to work out more, which I'm so excited about the fact that I've been able to reconnect with that side of myself. So I'm practicing a lot of yoga. I'm trying to meditate, and those things take time.
For sure. And I think the word you're looking for is you're very intentional with your time.
Intentional. That's exactly the
Yeah.
word I was looking
And
for.
so here's what I want to ask you because I got 4 kids, right? My wife it's a full-time job, right? She's doing the lion's share of the work there. But I'll tell you, when it comes to fasting or trying to keep healthy, sometimes my kids can be the biggest detriment. Like I'm eating chicken nuggets off their plate. They want to get ice cream. It's kind of hard to turn it down. So let's talk about how you built this fasting schedule and this consistency when you travel with kids. Like how do you keep disciplined? How do you, for somebody that might be thinking about doing this and you've already talked about a lot of the benefits of it. Like, what are some tips or tricks that you've had to be able to maintain kind of the consistency that you have with the intermittent fasting?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I think a lot of, I actually recently went on a TV show to talk about that because I'm no expert, but they wanted just somebody that has done it and that that likes it, that's worked for them. And so I was, and so the panel There were people that it didn't work for them. And I think that was the biggest thing. It's like, there's a lot of misconceptions about it. For me personally, in my experience of having done it now for many months, the number one thing I did was download an app just to track it, you right? Because, I think you need to measure things. And that's one thing that's always helped me. Whatever I'm working on, whether that be working out or work, if you measure it, you're good because then you can kind of like tell if it's working or not. And I downloaded an app. And in the app, I would just start to I would press the button when I started, and then I would press the button when I ended it. And then I was able to look back and see, okay, how many hours am I doing, and what do I need to adjust? So I would say tip number one is have an app where you can track it and you can kind of see um, your record. You can go back and see how many weeks you've been doing it and how many hours. And then the app is able to tell you, from what time to what time have you been doing it. I have been personally deliberate about doing it. From I'll have dinner. Some people don't have dinner. I have dinner. So I just don't have breakfast. So I have lunch and dinner. Uh, why? Because for me, in the morning, I like to have coffee and then I get my morning kind of busy going because I need to get the kids ready and they typically go to camp or to school, obviously right now camp, but and then I go work out. So when I am not with the kids, to your point about the kids eating, when I'm not with the kids, that's when it's my easiest time to not eat, because they're not around and I can go work out and I can go do things that I'm busy. And then when I'm with them, that's actually kind of when I'm eating. So it's not an issue for me. And in the morning, I don't like to have a big breakfast. I just like black coffee. So it kind of worked out for me, like that. And then
What about
I,
when you
play-
travel? How do you manage it when you travel? Because
you
I
know,
went on a European trip recently with family, and again, my eating schedule was completely thrown off, and it was really, really tough.
yeah, that's a great question. I think it depends. I mean, it really depends on where you go and what your schedule is. But I recently went to Madrid, and I was like, oh, this is where I'm gonna not be following it, because you also can be super strict with it. In the sense of what I mean by that is life, and life happens. And I think if you wanna be militant about it, that's when you're not gonna do it long term because you can. If you allow yourself to not be perfect, then it's okay because that's normal. So I went to Madrid with my husband. We went for a week and I said, okay, this is probably when I'm gonna not be following my fast. And in fact, that's a 1 week I took off from recording it because I'm going to just kind of let go. But interestingly enough, because I wasn't recording it and I was kind of following my body, that's when I did it best. I actually did some of the longest fasts I've done there because my husband had meetings during the day and I would go walk and do whatever I needed to do. And I would just be on my black coffee and my water, which is what I typically drink when I'm not eating, or my tea. And then when I would meet up with him for dinner or a late lunch, and that's when I would eat. And then I would do it the next day. So I think knowing now today what I know based on all of the months that I've done from fasting is that you really have to build up to it and then listen to your body because it's almost like you're training your body. Think of it when you're working out. So at the beginning it's hard, yeah, because you're adjusting, your body's adjusting, your muscles are adjusting, but then it gets to the point where you kind of crave it. You crave working out. You're like, if you're not working out, you're like, oh. So I think this fasting is probably similar where at the beginning it did take me some time to build up to it and to kind of adjust to the changes in my body doing it. And then it got to a point where my body was accustomed to it. So I wasn't hungry in the hours where I typically fast. But then also I kind of fell in love with how I feel when I am fasting. So I don't eat junk anymore, which is kind of crazy because before when I was working, I really did got to a point where I was burnt out. And it's funny because I think that part of the reason why now, fasting has been such a miracle in my life, or I shouldn't say miracle, but life changing. And why I love it so much and I talk about it all the time is because I had really gotten to the point where I really wasn't taking care of myself and I would work so hard um and then have my kids and I was just going to go that I really wouldn't eat it's not like I would overeat. But then when I ate, I would eat a bunch of junk, whatever was available. And I think that's the difference with fasting is that fasting is not just about the hours that you're not eating, but it's also learning to eat. So when you're eating, are you prioritizing protein? Are you eating healthy as far as like not eating junk and things that really are empty calories and are just going to make you feel crappy? So anyway, that's basically my long story. It's not just the times that you're not eating, is when you're the hours that you're eating, the 6, 8 hours that you're eating, making sure that you're eating to fuel your body so that you feel good and that you're not craving, you know, uh, junk food. So that's, I think, to your point with the traveling, what I would do is probably prioritize, like, those hours that you're eating, how are you going to enjoy them? What restaurants are you going to go? Like making sure that it's not just grabbing whatever's in the snack, pantry and eating whatever.
Yeah. I listen, a couple of things that I'll say about that. One, uh, it's definitely something that is hard and then it takes time. And then you get to a point where it becomes natural. And then you're going to become addicted to the way that you feel when you feel good. And I've seen that too. So I think that's a really, really good call out by you. Second is you said you spent time in Madrid, fantastic city, great football team. Really going to work on that airport. I had some troubles at that airport. Really, really going to step that game up. It's a bigger city. So I love it. And I think we're moving up the rankings of the top health and wellness podcast just based on this episode alone.
Finding the right talent for your team doesn't have to be a struggle. Meet Aon Hire, the world's first hiring experience management platform designed to transform the way you hire. Powered by AI, Aon Hire takes the hassle out of every step in the process. From smart resume analysis to customized interview questions, it saves you time, money, and effort. Plus, with real-time insights from every interview, you can quickly identify top candidates, reduce turnover, and stay on budget. And forget about note-taking. Aon Hire takes care of that for you. Ready to revolutionize your hiring process? Visit aonhire.com and get started today.
Do you have any other other wellness thing that you do? You mentioned meditation earlier. You mentioned yoga. What are some other things that you think are
Yoga. I'm like a super yoga freak. So I'll tell you this story, which it's interesting. About, I want to say about like definitely more than 10 years ago, I stopped drinking, which was amazing because I did it when I had my own agency, my own PR agency for a while, which was a dream. And I did it and I was so proud I did it. Team Emar was the name of it. And when I started doing that, I decided to stop drinking. Just because I really wanted to, again, be really focused. I wanted to really challenge myself in how can I be better. And that was one way that I felt really would help me improve. And so when I stopped drinking, and by no means was I, it was just, I just wanted to feel physically better, not like swollen or, how you feel sometimes when you drink. So what I did was, since I wasn't going to the happy hours and the whatnot, I started practicing yoga. So this was more than 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And yoga changed my life then. It became such a beautiful practice, and just such an incredible addition to my life. So that is kind of like my base. Like I knew now that I was wanting to get back into connecting with myself. I knew that it was something I needed to get back to. So I started practicing yoga again. And it's so addicting because it makes you feel so good. And so sometimes I'll do 2 classes if I can. I know that's not always possible, but if I can, I will, because it really, not only is it physically challenging and it helps me feel better physically, but also mentally, it gives me a break from just like all of the noise. Because you really focus on your breath, and if you're doing it right, the idea is that you're just very connected with your body and your breath, and you're able to kind of do a movie meditation. Really, it's what it's called. Yoga is a movie meditation. So I would say that. I mean, I don't drink alcohol. So to your point earlier, I think that's phenomenal because I'm able to really be always kind of within myself, not like an outside substance. And then the yoga is amazing for me because it allows me to come back to myself. And then, of course, now with the fasting, I'm like, feeling so strong. So it's a
You
good
are an
combo.
absolute inspiration. We are moving up on the health and wellness podcast list. We are going down on the alcohol and drinking podcast. So we had a strong run there for a while. So we lost that.
I love
Probably
this. I
for the
love this. I
best.
love this. That's so
Let's talk
funny.
talent. Let's talk hiring. So you've hired in your past. You've built some great teams. What's a core hiring philosophy for you? The people you want to bring onto your team.
Great question. And it's a very interesting topic because I have made some incredible hires and I've made
But
some
we're going to
not
get to that. Don't
incredible
worry
hires.
about that. We're going to call you out on those two.
Okay,
Sure.
good, 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 good. So, most important trait, I think I think the most important thing, or no, I know, is a person that's like ready to go, that's hungry and that's passionate. Um, because I think that it's important to be able to do whatever is needed to get the job done. That's how I do it. And that's what I always ask of my team, like this is our goal and that's what we need to get to. That's what we got to do. And I'm not a person that likes to hear no, or we can't do that. So my team kind of has to figure it out. And I think it's like a good thing. Like people come to me when they know that they need a team. Like I'll give you the most recent example, obviously with the Hard Rock. Our team, people would always come to us if they knew that they just needed to get something done, and I'm very, I take a lot of pride in that because I love that about my team. And I think you have to be passionate and you have to have the mentality of like, let's go, let's get it done.
Some would say
Whatever it
maybe that
takes.
you make shit happen. That's what some might say that, right?
Whoa, I love that. I was wondering what those initials were because I only see the
It's
MS.
MSH. Yeah, that's the company, right?
MSH. There's something there that I
I
couldn't
love
see.
that. So
That's so
listen, let me ask
funny.
this then. Do you have a favorite question you like to ask? Because it sounds like you want self-starters. It sounds like you want people with can-do attitudes. How do you suss that out in an interview process?
I kind of go with my gut. I mean, I ask a lot of questions. You know what? I ask people to tell me about themselves, because I can tell a lot about people just from the way that they are sharing who they are. And it's not a judgment on like who they are. Like I love diversity, but I can hear whether they're positive or not. I can hear about just kind of like the way of their view of the world. I like to hear obviously about their past experiences, about why they're looking to come to a new job. Like if you can hear a lot or learn a lot by what people tell you, just no matter the question. Like just kind of like if they're coming from a place of negativity or positivity. For example, when I was in the interview process for one of the roles, somebody told me that they were leaving where they were because they didn't like, you know, something specific. And I could tell from their answer that maybe the manager wasn't the issue. Maybe it was them, how they were handling the situation. So I like to ask a lot of questions just to tell me about themselves, why they want to apply for the role, why they're leaving where they are, where they want to get to. Like, I think it's really important for people, not just for the department, but for people to have like goals and aspirations beyond even just the role that they're applying to. I believe that when we get to one role, I think that it's really important to like learn as much as we can from that role. But I don't like I never expect that to be like the last, place for my people. You know what I mean? Like I want to help them grow. I want them to want to grow. I want them to eventually want my job.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yes, it's really insightful to kind of find out what makes them tick and what they're about, and get from their own words their experiences and how they set them up to be ready for this job or this opportunity or to work with you. What about a memorable interview experience? Like when I ask you that, does any come to mind? It could be good, could be bad, could be you were interviewing, maybe you were interviewing somebody else. Any come to mind?
Memorable interview experience. I guess that's okay. That's a good question because I've had a few. I'm running through a few, some that I have done and some that have been done
I'm a
to me.
professional interviewer, both by trade and by podcast, but go ahead.
I guess I would say the one that I had with my last boss, just because we ended up having so much chemistry, like as far as us just talking, um, that it ended up running super late. It was like an hour interview and it ended up going like 2.5 hours. And I think it was just because we really kicked that off. And I think that was positive. Like I think that was a good thing. Um, I felt like there was so much, that from what he was telling me that I could do and that he already was seeing in me. But then, and he will be the first to tell you this, he made me go through it. I had to end up interviewing with like 10, I'm not joking, I'm not exaggerating, with like 10 people. Yes. And so that was really, I guess, memorable, that
Wanted to
whole
run you
interview
through the ringer.
process.
So he probably knew after that 2.5 hour interview, but he wanted to make sure he put you.
Yes, I later learned that I was on a recruiting trip. It was less of me
Oh, they were
interviewing and more
selling
than
you on the
recruiting me.
opportunity.
But it was great. They did a good job, and I'm so proud to to be a Hard Rock
I
alumni.
love that. So what about when you miss? All right, because we all made a bad hires. Is there like a bias that you look back on that you fixed eventually, or that maybe a theme? When you make a bad hire, do you look back and realize there's something maybe that you've done that's in common, opposed to when you make a great hire?
Yes, maybe. Uh, it's tough because I've had hires that have been challenging, but I still like stand by my hires in the sense of like whether it be because the person really needed that change, and I really wanted to make them make that change. And I think ultimately the change was the right thing to do. Um, or that they might be challenging in some capacity for certain things, but they're great in other areas. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that it's hard to really find like the perfect candidates. Like, and I think maybe that's it. Like, I think we just have to accept that it's very, very not impossible, but I think it's very rare to find somebody. And by the way, I have one hire that I think I got it right across the board with she's now the director, my former director. But not everybody's gonna be like her, so I think you almost just have to look at it into, okay, I made this hire for this reason, and so there's other areas that are gonna have to give. You know what I mean? And sometimes just making the hire is better than just taking like 6 months to a year to hire because you can't find the right person. And so I think that's maybe more what I would say. Like, I would say accepting that no candidate is going to be perfect and the challenges that come with each person, because nobody's perfect, have taught me a lot about the hiring process.
Okay. And what's it like? You mentioned a little bit about, it seems like you give people autonomy and let them figure things out. What's it like to be managed by Estefania? What is your management style?
That's man, you're good. Because you know what? Now you're like making me think about it. So I've been, I've had to learn. I myself have been, through an incredible journey of growth in my professional career. And I love that. So I would say that I have had to evolve. Like, I am very into the details. So I was maybe micromanaging for a while there, too much. And then I started to really empower my team to be more independent. But I want to say I'm a cool boss. Like, I think everybody on my team is going to tell you that they enjoyed it. I let people really own their areas and come to me and say, hey, I want to do this for this reason. But the main thing that's important to me is that that my team, they own what they're doing 100%. So like, if I give you autonomy to do, a project, then you need to own it through and through. If I call you and I ask you a question about why this, or, tell me about this, you really have to know it. You have to own it. Because I think that's how you're successful, right? Like, I never want to say I'm doing it because somebody told me to do it. I want to do it because I believe in it. And so that's when you succeed, because then you own it. So whether it goes right or wrong, it kind of irrelevant at that point, because you believed in it, you took a shot, you took a risk, and sometimes you're going to succeed, sometimes you're not. But I think it's really important to own the projects, to really understand the why behind you're doing something, the numbers, how you're measuring, to really like own the whole
No,
thing.
I love that. All right, I want to take it in a little bit of a different direction. I want to understand maybe a good book that you read recently, or maybe it's a show you've seen. What's some good content that you would recommend for our listeners that might be currently on that they should check out?
Good content. Oh gosh, can I tell you something? I just ordered a book today and I'm forgetting. Let me tell you. Let me see what. Now I'm curious because I'm like, what was the book that I just ordered today? So I'm gonna
Now,
pull it up.
what are you watching on TV right now? Or what's a good movie you saw while we look for that?
I don't watch TV. I really don't. But you know what? One thing I've been really into lately is content. So I've been trying to learn more about social. So I think influencer marketing. Oh, I got the book, by the way, but I'll tell you later. I think that influencer marketing is so important right now, obviously, right? Like digital, and most people are,
for sure.
yeah, like people are consuming, we are all consuming like content and media on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on whatever, platform you choose. And so I think content marketing, influencer marketing is so important. So I have been looking up courses because I want to not just like learn, this and that, but how can I really understand it, like understand how to use it for myself, for my client. AI, I know you mentioned AI at the beginning when you were introducing. Today I saw like a really cool piece of content actually about how some teachers were using AI to inspire the students. And it was really cool because she asked this teacher, she or he, I can't remember if it was a boy or girl, but they asked the students what they wanted to be when they grew up. And so this teacher created an AI image of that student's face as they wanted to be. So like one wanted to be an astronaut, wanted to be a teacher, one wanted to be a soccer player. So, like an image of them in the future. And you should see, I'm going to actually send it to you because you should see the kids' faces when they saw themselves. And I think that's pretty cool because I believe in visualizing. And so when they see that, they're like, oh my gosh, that's me, because it was actually like age.
They show
like
them at the age
was,
too? Wow.
yeah, like he made them older. So that's pretty cool. I wanna get better at my own content. I'm trying to also work on that. But the book, by the way, that I put on my card on Amazon is The Proximity Principle from Ken Coleman. I love Dave Ramsey and I love listening to money podcasts. So the Proximity Principle, I actually went to what's the name of this? Anyway, I went to one of these like conference. You know who I'm talking about?
Mm,
The big conference, the big guy.
Robbins?
Yes, I went to a Tony Robbins
Yes.
thing for like years
Okay.
ago, and he talked about that proximity's power. So today I was listening to another podcast and I heard about this book, which is basically that, right? Like you're surrounded by the people, you are like the people that you surround yourself with, and the proximity principle, which is that basically if you want to be something, just get closer to the people who are already doing it or who are already it. And I think that's something that I want to obviously like hear more about, because I'm in this space that I'm really defining what like the future looks like professionally. Um, so yeah, sorry, I threw a lot
No,
on you
yeah,
there,
like
but I
I
think
actually listened.
there's a lot going
I listened to
on.
a podcast or interview with him pretty recently, and it was really pertinent because I had been having this conversation when I was traveling with my wife and daughters, and we were talking a little bit about anxiety, depression, and are these things inevitable, or do we have agency in subsiding them and pulling back from them and recognizing them? And one of the things I was telling them is that, like, listen, I think that there's benefits to therapy. I think there's benefits to medication. But I don't think that it should be something that you rely on long term for either of those situations. I think it's something that you get something out of, and then over time you figure out other ways of doing it, whether it be running, whether it be reading, whether it be these other more natural type things, rather than starting to rely on those as a crutch. And my family was pushing back, and we were having a nice spirited conversation, great conversation with teenage girls. But then Tony Robbins was saying that he heard a study that 60% of people that who are suffering from depression received zero positive impact from any therapy or medication, right? And that's a really big number there. And then he started talking a lot about how what was working, what does work, and it was some of the more organic things that we've brought up, kind of bringing this whole wellness thing all back.
He talks a lot about physiology. So it's so interesting. I did his conference. I went the first time, and I don't know if you know about them, but he has this portion where you walk on fire. Really what he does is coal. That's they light it up and you have to walk through
Okay,
it.
yep. Yes, I have heard that he does that. Yes.
So and there's some people who love him and some people who hate him. I personally love doing the experience. Like I really do. I
You
always
walk on
like
the
to try
coal?
things. So yeah, but this is a story. Let me tell you. So I did it the first time and I burned my feet. And I was like, this is terrible. I don't believe in any of these things. I'm leaving. And I left. I didn't finish it. I left. I took a plane. This was like I had flown in for the conference. And I took a plane. I went straight to the airport. I'm not exaggerating. And I came back home. So I tried again 6 months later because I'm like, I need to like, do it. And then I did it. And I absolutely like had the best conference, like the best weekend. And I learned so much. And I think it's all mental. Like I think it's all where you are mentally. And all of that to say that the biggest takeaway that I had is that he really relies a lot on physiology and like feeling things. So even to prepare for that, for the walk on fire or whatever, I'm not exaggerating. It was like a 3-hour thing where you literally would just get up your seat, jump up and say like the cool moss. So that when you were walking on the fire, you would tell that to yourself And so like your brain would overpower that. So to go back to depression and all of those things, listen, I think that's such a relevant topic, more so nowadays. And it's something I prioritize in general with myself and with my children to make sure that we are physically very connected and active. Because I think that while my kids are very little, I feel like it's very important for us to be physically active and, do sports and get the endorphins and all of that. Because I do think that
All of these things work together, right? Your physical well-being, your mental well-being, and then I'm not saying that like if you're in a bout of depression, going for a run is going to fix everything. I'm not saying that whatsoever. What I was saying is that, I was trying to explain to my daughters in particular, everybody's got it hard. There's a lot of tough things out there. You don't, it's just how you process it, how you take it in. There's many times where I felt anxiety or I felt depression or I feel myself going down that road, but you have to recognize it. And then you have to find out the ways that you can pull yourself back before it gets to be too big of a problem. And you have no other choice but to take more extreme measures to try to fix it. And I'm not saying that's a cure all. I just wanted them to make sure that they understood that they have agency in some of these things and that it's not life happening to you. It's a lot of how you're responding to life and how you're processing it. And that's not that these things aren't very real big issues. Of course they are. But I do want them to feel like it's not just an inevitability. It's something that they can, if they learn themselves, if they learn how they work, if they learn what makes them feel better and what they can do. And when they start to get into those moments, can lean on those things, I think it can be a super powerful thing. Because I do think our mind is such a powerful aspect of everything that we do, from a physical perspective to our mindset to how we attack life. And there's a reason why one thing can happen to one person and the exact same thing can happen to another person. You get completely different outcomes, right? Because we processed it and received it differently, right? And so I'm not saying there's any simple answers out there. I'm merely saying that, there's some agency that we have there. And I want my children in particular to believe that's the case. I want them to believe that life is not happening to them. They are happening to life. And I think being physical is a big aspect of your overall wellness and well-being, which has been a theme of this podcast. I want to ask one more question, and we're going to get to our lightning round, okay? What's one bit of advice that you would give 20-year-old Estefania that you didn't know then, but that you know now?
Okay. One piece of advice. Do yoga sooner. That's a very, yeah. Like I feel like I didn't know the power of yoga until much later in life. And because it really, for me, it helps me get to a point where it helps with all the things that you just said. And that was that was the first thing that I thought. And the other thing is travel more.
Learn more, experience it. You don't learn anything more than you do from travel. All right, we're going to go to our lightning round. And so you know this, your sister Marcel came on my show. Marcel Acosta Rubio, correct?
That's right.
Works at City National.
Yes, my older sister.
Amazing woman, amazing episode. Had a great time. You guys are close, no?
Very close. Very close.
Super close.
She's in Japan right now.
She's in Japan right now. Okay. I went to Marcel and I asked her some questions about herself to see how well her sister knew her for our lightning round.
No, you
sure did. All right, so we're going to start here. What is Marcel's favorite food?
Is it sushi?
She said, I'm down for sushi any day, but she loves a good arepa. What is her favorite cuisine?
Her favorite cuisine. Okay, I guess I'm going to go with Italian.
Cuban. Incorrect. You're 1 for 2. Favorite color to wear? Marcel.
Black?
Mostly neutrals, but she likes dark blue tones.
Okay.
That was
close.
Best vacation she's ever taken?
Bahamas?
South of Spain family trip.
Oh, that was a nice one. That was a recent one.
Brand that Marcel is most loyal to.
Oh, that's a hard one. The brand that she's most loyal to. But you guys should have given me a heads up here.
No, that's not the point. We absolutely want to trick you to see how well you know your sister.
A brand that she's loyal to? Lululemon?
Apple.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Favorite Miami restaurant? I will give you a hint here. This is one of my favorites, too.
Is it Hailstones?
Yes, Hillstone. Last question.
Yeah, listen that one.
Musician she most wants to see in person.
A musician she most wants to see in person. Did she say Juan Luis Guerra?
She did not. She said Andrea Bocelli.
Oh my gosh. He goes to the Hard Rock all the time. I don't know why
You
she's
should have
never.
hooked her up with tickets. Come on. You got some connections.
I can't. I'm gonna have to call her all the way to Japan. And
All right, we got to grade the test here. So we got one.
I got
You
Houston's
got
right,
3
and I think
of
you gave it to
7.
me.
Okay. I mean, we're gonna, and listen, maybe we can play a joke on her. What we'll do is we'll get your answers. We'll see how well she knows you. Let's see.
I
Better
like
than
that.
3%. You like that idea?
I love that
Here's what we're gonna
idea.
do. 3 of us are gonna, well, not grab a drink. We're gonna grab a meal together.
We're gonna go to a yoga class together.
Do a yoga class together, and then we'll go have some coffee and hopefully break our intermittent fasting together.
I love
Estefania,
it.
thank you
I
so much
love
for
it.
coming on. I always enjoy our conversations. Really appreciate you.